Rollerblading combines cardio, fun, and style, and with all of these redeeming qualities, it's fair to wonder why you almost never see anybody rollerblading. To get to the bottom of this, we'll have to take a little trip back in time to the moment when everything changed.
Blader.
Oh look, a boarder.
Blades, dude? Those are for dorks. Real skaters? They ride boards.
Oh, dude. Those words just killed my stoke for blading. I'm gonna drop this sport and never touch these perfectly good blades ever again. This one simple interaction began the catastrophic demise of rollerblading. What was once a titan in the action sports community was suddenly deemed uncool. Now, I wasn't actually alive in 1996, but from what the internet has told me, that's pretty much exactly how it went. Rollerblading has obviously never really recovered from that uncool title, but just because it's not cool anymore doesn't necessarily mean that it's not a good form of exercise. In this episode of Gym Class, we're taking a closer look at rollerblading. Does it deserve to be left in the 90s, or could it potentially make a comeback? Starting off with learning curve, and rollerblading has always had this bad reputation for being really hard to learn, but in my opinion, after a solid week of practice, you'll be perfectly comfortable on rollerblades, and the rate of progression really ramps up quickly from there. 5 out of 10. Once you've got the basics down, you can really start to appreciate the fun factor of rollerblading. As long as you've got a smooth surface to skate on, rollerblading can be as fun as you want it to be. Maybe you're all about speed, or maybe you're into learning big tricks, or maybe you're like me and just use rollerblading as a way to practice hockey in the summer. I'll give it a 6 out of 10 for fun factor. Since it isn't exactly the most popular exercise, you're probably not going to meet a ton of other people rollerblading, but you will probably still get a lot of attention, because if anyone sees you rollerblading, that's likely the first time that they've seen rollerblades in the last 30 years. I'll give it a 4 out of 10. Fortunately, it's still a great activity to do solo, which is good because you're going to have a really hard time finding anyone else to do this with you. Rollerblading is super affordable. The only thing you really need is a pair of rollerblades, and if you do some digging, you can easily find a used pair for under $100. I'd also recommend some protective equipment, knee pads, wrist guards, and a helmet, especially if you're planning on hitting the skate park. 8 out of 10 for affordability. The risk of injury for rollerblading isn't too bad. You might get a few bumps, scrapes, bruises, maybe a wrist injury, but you'll have to work pretty hard to do more damage than that, although the lack of brakes is something to consider. 5 out of 10. Next is location accessibility, and I've realized that if I'm going to make a rollerblading video in Vancouver, it just wouldn't be right to not talk about Stanley Park, so we're going to take a little field trip. Fast now, oh my god. Hopefully I don't have to stop at the end of this. Honestly, this is such an incredibly underrated way to enjoy Stanley Park. I haven't seen a single person on rollerblades other than me. It's all bikes or people running or walking. This is the way. This is the way. Uh-oh. Oh god, these are actually like speed bumps. Oh my god, oh my god. I'm honestly so sold on rollerblading after this. This is so nice. If you live in Vancouver and you've never rollerbladed around the seawall, throw them on. Look at that. That is so sick. Wow, that's sick. It just gets better and better every turn. Have a good one. He was asking how I stop. Dude, good question. So far, I haven't really had to like stop. He was like, how do you emergency stop? I was like, I don't really. And that's kind of true so far anyway. It's more of like a swerve if I really need to avoid something, but like realistically, I can't make a like stop on a dime on rollerblades. Like it's just not happening. Look at that. That's so sick. Oh my god. The path I was on there suddenly turned into gravel, so I guess that's the end of the line. But waterfront to Main Street, and it couldn't have been that long. I'm gonna guess about an hour and 15 minutes. Hour and 9 minutes. Okay, post-ride review. That was awesome. I can't believe that I didn't see anyone else rollerblading. 16 kilometers, not a single person on rollerblades. Tons of bikes, e-scooters, electric unicycle, runners, but no rollerblades. I'd say about 90% of the people that I passed gave me a little weird look, but optimistically, I think it was more of a, wow, that's super cool. I want to try rollerblading again, as opposed to like a, that's super weird, why is that guy on rollerblades thing? If you're lucky enough to have access to something like this incredible paved path around Stanley Park, I definitely recommend skating there. If not, parking lots, sidewalks, tennis courts, and lacrosse boxes will still work just fine. In my opinion, rollerblading can even be a decent option for commuting. You'll have to bring a backpack to carry your shoes, and you're gonna show up to work a little bit sweaty, but at least you don't have to worry about locking up a bike. 7 out of 10. Weather is a problematic factor for rollerblading. If it's wet out, your bearings are just not gonna last very long. But if you have access to a covered lacrosse box or maybe a roller rink, then you should still be able to skate year round. 6 out of 10. Next is wow factor, and while Stanley Park is a pretty incredible backdrop for rollerblading, it's also pretty rare. Chances are you're not gonna be saying wow too often on rollerblades unless it's, wow, the kid on the scooter just lapped me again. 4 out of 10. Finally, calories burned per hour, and in my testing, I burned 793 calories per hour on average, which is a lot more than I thought it was gonna be. But keep in mind that will vary quite a lot depending on how many hills you have to deal with. Adding everything up, the final score is 64 out of 100, which for now takes the top spot on the report card. But here are some things to consider about that score. Similar to mountain biking, I'm pretty spoiled when it comes to location. Not everyone has access to scenic waterfront paths to skate on, and if you're stuck in parking lots and tennis courts, it probably won't be as much fun. On top of that, I've been skating on rollerblades and hockey skates for pretty much my entire life, and because of that, I'm probably a little bit biased. While it's definitely not the coolest form of exercise, I do think that it's one of the most underrated, and who knows, maybe it'll make a comeback. If you disagree with my rating, feel free to make your own copy of the report card and rate all of the categories yourself. It's linked in the description. If none of this made any sense to you, feel free to check out this video that explains the entire gym class series. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, comment down below and let me know which form of exercise I should test out next, and subscribe to make sure you don't miss those videos.